Welcome to the WTIM Morning Show. I'm your host, Avery Cooper. Your stream co-sponsored by People's Bank and Trust. They put people first. Landmark of Taylorville. You always do better with Landmark. I'm here on the phone with Director of Project Development for Tenaska, Monty Tenclay, here to talk about Tenaska's Heartland Greenway project. Welcome back to the program, Monty.
Thanks, Avery. Appreciate you taking the time to talk with us this morning.
No, it's great to have you here. So, I understand Heartland Greenway has been working with Christian County for a few months now. You've been reaching out to county board, landowners, community, etc. Where do things stand? Because things look a little bit tough right now.
I think when you start a project like this, they're always a little bit tough. It takes time to get out and get in front of people and have conversations and get people comfortable and familiar with what you're trying to do so you can build those relationships. Everything that we do is based on relationships. So we started working with the board late last summer, early fall. We had a meeting in September, then we followed up with a meeting with the full board in November. We think it's going pretty well. We're starting to get landowners comfortable with what we're doing. We've got a couple of leases signed. And we keep working with the board to just try to keep open communications and provide opportunities for them to ask questions when they have questions. We know that there were projects before us that struggled. I don't know exactly what they did, but we're trying to establish our standard by just being available, being open, being fair, and just being consistent with our messaging.
Mm-hmm. What are you trying to achieve with the county board specifically?
When we met with the county board, they asked us to do two things. They asked us to get people comfortable with what we're doing and to share information so that they and landowners and citizens in Christian County could get comfortable that the project that we're trying to develop is safe for Christian County and will provide benefits to Christian County. And then they asked us what the project would do for Christian County and what it would bring to the county. So, over the last couple of months, we've really worked hard at our sharing information that we have, but not only information that we have, but also information that's out there from other sources on the safety of a carbon storage project. But we've also worked to understand how the project would impact, mostly economically, Christian County.
So, does Christian County, as of, right now anyway, have an ordinance for carbon capture and storage projects like Heartland Greenway? And if so, which?
Christian County has ordinances for wind and solar transmission. We understand they don't currently have a ordinance for carbon capture. I don't think that should be a surprise to anybody because this is relatively new. We know that the Christian County has been, some of the members of the board have been working on ordinances and have proposed a couple. At the last meeting with the county, or at the last county board meeting and then the zoning board of appeals meeting, they've talked about ordinances. We were able to get a copy of that and we offered our input. It's really up to the board on how they want to use that. We've been developing projects across the country for quite a number of years, 30 or 40 years, and so we have some expertise there. And we're willing to help it, but also we're willing to help provide the support that the county needs so that they can do it the way that they want to do it and make it fit, not only for the project, but mostly for the citizens of Christian County.
What kind of input did you provide to the committee and to the board members?
We asked our lawyer to look at what was proposed and just recommend some changes that are consistent with public safety, consistent with practices related to carbon storage, and consistent with what we see is important to the county. And then we just turned around a document back. We submitted it to the ZBA. It'll be considered in the May board. zoning board of appeals, and then it's really up to Christian County how they want to deal with it.
Right, of course. But just to be clear, there is an ordinance in the works. It just isn't official. You've made your recommendations based on what how the, all the nuances of this project in Tenaska, and now it's again ultimately up to the board to decide what they want to do with it.
That's correct.
Just making
And
sure we're on the same page.
and our recommendations weren't necessarily based on what's best for our project, but really what we see would work for any project like this that would come to Christian County.
Mhm. Does the county board drive this process, or is it Tenaska and Heartland Greenway?
It's really up to the county board to
Mhm.
drive this process. We didn't suggest the ordinance; they did. We just offered some input on it, and we're standing by to provide whatever support they would like, or if they don't want our support, we understand that as well.
Mm. And so with that, if they, do want the support, as you mentioned, what is the potential for tax revenues and jobs for if Heartland Greenway is established?
So we've spent some time looking at the taxes and the benefits that this project will bring to Christian County. I don't think it's any secret that a project like this this particular project doesn't necessarily bring a lot of jobs. And after looking at the way taxes are assessed, there's not an opportunity to tax because there's just not a lot of taxable assets. But we've been talking with Christian County. We've offered up a development agreement that would enable the project to pay to Christian County, in a combination of taxes and the development agreement, something similar to what we would pay to landowners every year, which ends up being about $1.25 million in annual revenue. So, it's up to the county how they want to deal with that. This type of agreement has been put in place in other places in other counties in Illinois. So we know that that it will work. And it enables a project like this to bring revenue to the county. But also, this particular project, because of what it's offering, because as we go further, as we move forward, regulations are increasing. We're also seeing that there are other developers out there that would like to co-locate projects that will bring quite a number of jobs and additional tax revenue to Christian County, where the storage field is going to be located. So on top of this project, we see the potential for other projects to come to Christian County.
I see. So the economic development portion of Heartland Greenway isn't so much attracting jobs and drawing tax revenue out of those jobs, but it's more so a step in the right direction for the county to attract other industry leaders into the area. Do I have that right?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great way to put it.
Okay. So what kind of financial commitment are you prepared to make to Christian County?
Well, so as I was talking about, Navigator or Heartland Greenway has made a commitment to ensure that the combination of taxes and the development agreement will make a similar payment to the county as we will make to the landowners every year. And that number we think right now is somewhere in the neighborhood of $1.25 million.
Right. Gotcha. Right. So let's go ahead and reintroduce everyone, and we'll continue our conversation after a quick break. That is Director of Project Development for Tenaska, Monty Clay, here on the WTIM Morning Show. I'm your host, Avery Cooper. Your stream co-sponsored by People's Bank and Trust. They put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better with Landmark. Welcome back to the WTIM Morning Show. I'm your host, Avery Cooper. Your stream co-sponsored by People's Bank and Trust. They put people first. And Landmark of Taylorville. You always do better with Landmark. I'm here on the phone with Director of Project Development for Tenaska, Monty Ten Clay, talking about Tenaska's Heartland Greenway project. Great to have you here on the program here, Monty.
Hey, we appreciate you having us this morning. We appreciate the opportunity.
So, a big feature of Heartland Greenway is the ethanol side and how it's good for the ag economy and farmers. I want to know how ethanol, or how rather, let me mix that back up, how Heartland Greenway is good for the ethanol market.
Well, okay, so as we talked about earlier, a lot of the benefits for this project start with the landowners, but they also it helps to strengthen the ethanol marketplace for Christian County farmers. We've got ethanol producers from 5 states that are going to be customers of Heartland Greenway, and they're facing tougher and tighter environmental regulations. Heartland Greenway gives them a way to reduce their CO2 emissions, which is going to be important over time, particularly as the states push for more renewable fuel. And at this point, out of those 5, we know Valero is one of the biggest customers, and they've told us directly that Heartland Greenway will give them help them keep their facilities open and running. So, and then, lastly, as we talked about, we know that there are more than a few companies that are looking to co-locate businesses with the storage field, which brings additional opportunity to Christian County.
So with ethanol specifically, again, I'm just trying to connect dots here. By lowering carbon in the environment, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, so ethanol produces carbon dioxide as a pure byproduct. Instead of emitting this into the air, which is what happens now, Heartland Greenway will provide these producers the opportunity to inject this into the ground and store it safely, more than a mile below the surface of the earth, rather than releasing it into the air. As environmental regulations tighten and businesses are forced to be, more green, or forced to work under tighter environmental regulations, this provides them a readily available opportunity to reduce their emissions.
Businesses such as energy leaders, right?
Yeah,
right.
And ethanol and fertilizer are really the 2 biggest right now in this area that we see.
Yeah, with fertilizer, how is that kind of the same idea with Heartland Greenway, or is it kind of an off branch, not quite as related?
Nope, it's very similar.
They
produce carbon dioxide as a byproduct, and it can be injected into the ground, very similar to the way ethanol will handle it.
And that's the way that farmers specifically can take advantage of it, or at least one way.
Yeah, and as you point out, the fertilizer industry directly supports the farmers, but ethanol in this area drives a lot of the pricing of corn, and keeping ethanol stable and sustainable keeps the corn prices stable and sustainable.
Last month, you talked a little bit about your efforts to reach lease agreements with landowners, and maybe tell me a little bit how that's going.
We've spent a lot of time trying to figure out where the market is and understand how we should be forming these agreements. We've made quite a number of changes to the agreements as we've gotten into this project to address the concerns that landowners have had. And we're getting to the point where we think that landowners are comfortable with what we're doing. We're starting to get landowners that are very interested. We've had lots of discussions on the terms of the agreement, and we've got a couple of agreements signed, and we're continuing to move forward on that. We think it's going very well.
You also mentioned the project providing financial support to community and nonprofit organizations. Any news on that front?
Yeah, actually got a little bit to talk about that. As we've had these conversations a couple of times, and each time we've explained to you that we want to have a positive impact on the communities. To do that, we've looked for opportunities where we could participate in the community and provide support to organizations that have similar outlooks that we do, and look to support community events and activities within the community that are important to the community and match with our goals and values. And to that extent, we've put together a community benefit plan. From now going forward, every quarter, we're going to look to make donations to groups within the community that support events and activities that match the county's values. And we're proud to announce that we've selected our first two groups to receive donations. We're going to be making a $500 donation to the Taylorville Food Pantry and then the FFA program at Taylorville High School. But I think you'll see over the next year that we'll look to do this every quarter and find additional entities that we can help that matter to Christian County.
That is Director of Project Development for Tenaska, Monty Tanclay. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day from my home state of Washington State to come on to the program. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. We appreciate your time this morning.
Enjoy the area up there in the Pacific Northwest. You are listening to the WTIM Morning Show. I'm your host, Avery Cooper. Your stream co-sponsored by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better with Landmark.